It's for the ocean, the rivers, the seas. It's for the surging beach breaks and the trickling streams. It's for lakes and for wetlands, those watery worlds. It's for surfers, for swimmers, for all it means to you. It's for the heart-racing, mind-clearing, pure stoke of the blue. So, ocean activists everywhere, are you willing to fight? To stand up to the money and the industrial might? To take on the polluters and refuse to back down? Your voice is your power. Together, we're loud. And this wave will be unstoppable when we rise hand in hand. A thriving ocean, thriving people. Now it's time to take a stand.
Well, hello everybody and welcome to this year's Pupil Power Assembly, brought to you by Surfers Against Sewage. We are here today to talk about ocean activism and some of the ways that you can take a stand for the ocean. My name's Naomi. I am going to be your host for the next 90 minutes alongside Annie, our wonderful interpreter here today. We will be exploring a variety of topics around blue stewardship. Now, blue stewardship means taking collective care of our water resources and taking responsibility for how we use and protect those resources too. We've got 53 secondary schools tuning in this afternoon from right across the UK, even from South Africa. So that is roughly 3,750 pupils tuning in right now. That is a lot of pupil power. That's absolutely fantastic. So it really is great to see you all. Imagine the difference we could make together if each of you decided to become an ocean activist. So today we're going to talk about our connection with nature, specifically with water. Did you know that every second breath you take is made possible by the ocean? Just think about that for a moment. The ocean covers a whopping 70% of the planet and produces over half of the oxygen we breathe. And what's more, the ocean supports our mental health too. That's why we can only thrive if our oceans thrive as well. And unfortunately, our oceans are currently under threat from plastic pollution, from sewage, climate change, and more. But the good news is you can help. And today we're going to share some examples of just how you can get involved. So first up, we're going to do a bit of housekeeping and get a sense of who is here today and what's going to happen. Throughout the afternoon, you will be able to interact with us live via the Slido Q&A box, which will usually be on the left of the screen. But if you are in full screen, you might need to open this up in a separate device. So teachers, just go to slido.com. slido.com and enter the code PPA, Pupil Power Assembly, PPA 2024. I think it's down there too. We'll be asking for your input as a class at certain points throughout the afternoon. So when we do this, teachers, you can enter your pupils' answers into the Slido Q&A box. It does have an option there for you to upload your school name and display that, but we will leave that entirely up to you. So let's give it a go, shall we? Fingers crossed it's going to work for us this afternoon. Teachers, go to the Q&A tab in the Slido box and tell us, where in the UK are you joining us from today? Where is your school? Let us know. We'll wait for those comments to start hopefully filtering through on Slido as I let you know that the fantastic Surfers Against Sewage education team are here today. They are working very, very hard behind the scenes to answer any other questions that you might have. So do let us know where in the UK you are watching. We are also going to be sharing some interactive polls with you today using Slido, so it'll be important that you get that set up. So we got, some people watching in Manchester, some in London. Hello you lot. Hello from, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, Rodine School in Brighton. Hey, hello to you. Hello to Ashfield School, Kirkby in Ashfield. Nice to see you this Friday afternoon. Thank you very much for logging in. Well, this seems to actually be working. Phew. Water is coming out of me already in sweat. That is very good to know. So teachers, also on Slido, to let you know, once you're in there, you're going to see a question asking, how does water show up in your life? For example, you drink it from a tap, don't you? Or rain helps to grow the food that we all eat. Or you might, like me, enjoy swimming in the ocean. Get creative. How does water show up in your life? So pupils, you get answering, teachers get typing, and let's see what you already know. And while I just let those answers start to filter in, a little reminder that we would love to see you joining in from your classrooms this afternoon. So we have got a hashtag, it is up, I will get out of the way so you can see it. It is hashtag Power to the Pupils. So if you would like to get involved, we've also got this hashtag, so there's a couple of them, thank you very much. Hashtag We Are Water PPA, and in your photographs that you might want to share with us of you joining in today, just tag in Surfers Against Sewage so that we can make sure we share them as well. Thank you so much. So let's have a look. We've got some answers coming in. How does water show up in your life? Now, just to let you know, with Slido, the more answers we get saying the same thing, those answers grow and get bigger. So those words that are growing larger there are the ones that more people are saying. So rain, yeah. Very true. We see a lot of rain in this country. Swimming, showers, drinking, in the pool, absolutely right. I'm going to have to go a bit closer to see the smaller ones. Swimming in the sea, yes, we love the sea. Cooking, very important one, sometimes forgotten. Washing, another important one. Mist, yes. Snow, I saw quite a lot of that yesterday on my drive down to Cornwall. The toilet bowl, yes, it has to be mentioned, something that we all use every day. Water is part of our lives in all sorts of ways, and you are coming up with some great ideas there. So well done, great answers. Sounds like you're already well aware of how important water is to our lives. And I hope you're going to learn a whole lot more over the next 90 minutes. So I think we're going to move on now, just if we can scroll on down a little bit to the next bit of the script. Oh, I've told you about the hashtag, haven't I? I've told you the hashtag, Power to the Pupils. There we go. I know, finally, got to tell you this bit. We've already seen that there are some activities to complete as we go through today. We have already shared some worksheets with your teachers ahead of time, and we are going to be asking for your input throughout the programme. All right then. So I think we're ready to get started. Are you all ready to get started here in the room? Yeah. We think so. We hope so. We think the tech is working. We're here. We're all going okay. So, because the health of water on our planet is under threat, we've already established that through your brilliant input that water is absolutely vital. And today we've invited a number of brilliant guests to speak with us and inspire all of us to become ocean activists. So we've got biologists, we've got activists, we've got surfers, lawyers, and more. Now, there are going to be three parts to today's assembly. First of all, we're going to look at our own relationship to water. We're going to explore all the challenges that are affecting water at the moment, of which we know there are many. And we're going to start to consider the ways our relationship to water is impacted by these challenges and how we might be impacting the water around us. Then after a short break, we're going to hear from 4 amazing guests who are all blue stewards in some form or other. Each of these guests takes care of water in a different way, and we hope that this section is really going to inspire you to think about all the creative ways that you can stand up for water too. And finally, after another short break, we will be inviting some young activists to join a panel discussion, which is going to be all about ocean activism, eco-anxiety and nature connection as well. So this is a really special part of the assembly because there will be a chance for you to send in your questions. We're going to have a live Q&A. So as you might see on the worksheets that are in front of you, there is a little bit of space for you to take notes and jot down any questions you might want to ask our activists later on in the programme. Who is this? This, I must introduce you to. This is Wally. Say hi, Wally. Hi, Wally. Now, Wally is a water droplet, and he was helping us out at this morning's primary assembly, getting all the kids excited about the water cycle, and he was taking me on adventures to go and meet our different guests. But I'm ever so sorry to say that, Wally, we don't need your help this afternoon. So do feel free to stick around and enjoy the assembly, though. But yeah, we don't need your help.
Okay, I'll be hanging out in that puddle outside.
Okay. Oh, Oh dear, I feel a bit bad. Sorry, Wally. If you want to see more of Wally, just let us know in the Slido chat and we'll make sure he makes a reappearance later on. But that is Wally, the water droplet, and he has had a busy morning, so he'll enjoy just resting up in a puddle. Anyway, as I was saying, we have got a jam-packed afternoon ahead, so let's get started. We're going to jump straight in with our first guest. Gillian Burke is a biologist, a writer, a public speaker, and a presenter. I'm sure you will recognise her. She has a passion for storytelling. She's here to speak with us about our relationship to water and the challenges that our waters are facing. So welcome, Gillian.
Hello, everyone. Well, like Naomi said, we're going to be hearing and learning a lot about water this morning. We are also going to be learning about how we can be a better friend to water. Now, you're probably asking yourself, does water even need a friend? Well, we think so. That's because water is facing so many challenges, from plastic pollution to chemical pollution to sewage pollution to just us using way too much of it, when in truth, every single drop of water is precious. So let's start with what we already know about water. It's something we're all familiar with. Water is something that we use every single day. Water is something that we need every single second of every single day. And that's because water is something we are all made of. But have you ever stopped to ask yourself, what is water? Where does it come from? And I don't mean the water that comes out of the taps or the water in your water bottle. I mean all of the water. Where does it come from? And why is it so important? Well, to help answer these questions, we need to hear the story of water. And to fire up our imaginations, we need the help of some sound effects to help us travel through space and back in time, right back to the birth of the earth. It's thought that the Earth was born 4.6 billion years ago. The young Earth was covered with nothing but volcanoes and red-hot molten rock and lava. It's so hard to see how water could have formed on such a fierce and fiery planet. So for a long time, scientists thought that the only possible way that water could have arrived on Earth is from out of space. Space rocks, called meteors covered in ice, crashed to Earth, bringing deliveries of water. And some of the Earth's water got here like this, by hitching a ride on a meteor from outer space. But now scientists think that the Earth actually made most of her own water in the liquid rock itself. The intense heat and pressure forcing the building blocks of water, 2 hydrogen atoms to 1 oxygen atom, to make H2O. Water. For hundreds of millions of years, this water was trapped under the Earth's crust. But slowly, the Earth started to cool down, and she let off steam. Almost like the Earth was breathing out her own atmosphere as steam or water vapor, wrapping the entire planet in a blanket of cloud. Millions and millions and millions of years passed again, and the earth cooled down even more, enough for that blanket of cloud that was wrapped around the earth to release that water, and it began to rain. And for the very first time, Earth had liquid water on its surface. Even today, virtually all the water we see, whether it's in the oceans, the lakes, the rivers, the streams, ponds, the water that comes out of the tap, the water in your water bottle, even the water in the loo, it all came from that original mother of all rainstorms. So the earth made her own atmosphere. She made her own water. What happened next? I'll tell you what happened next. Life happened next. Life on Earth began in water. Liquid water is the essential ingredient for all known forms of life. Life can exist without light, without air. Life can exist on the highest mountain, under the weight of the deepest oceans, in freezing sub-zero temperatures, even around the fiery heat of a volcano. But the one thing that life cannot live without is water. The earliest forms of life that we know of, single cells, are thought to have formed at the bottom of the sea 3.7 billion years ago. Even today, the watery conditions necessary for all life have been packaged up in every cell of every living being. Including us. But why is water essential to life? Well, water is essential to life because it carries all the ingredients for life. So just like if you took a teaspoon of sugar and stirred it into a glass of water, it looks like it disappears, but we know it's still there. How do we know? That's because we can taste it. In the same way, sugars, oxygen, and loads of other ingredients needed for life can be dissolved or suspended in liquid water. And liquid water does something else very special. It flows, meaning it can carry all those lovely ingredients for life around the body, but also around the planet, allowing these ingredients to be exchanged and passed around and recycled and reused in an endless, beautiful water cycle where nothing ever gets wasted. And if you hear someone say that water is life, it really is. Water isn't just life, it brings life. Water brings life to the air in the form of mist and cloud and rain. Water brings life to the land in the form of springs and streams and rivers and lakes and oceans. Water brings life because it carries life in its very being. So the next time you're sat on a rainy day looking at the raindrops hitting the window, think about water's incredible 4 billion year journey. Think about how the story of water has made you feel. And think about how you might be a friend to this life-giving force that we call water.
Wally, I thought you were going to go and hang out in that puddle outside. Go on, out you go, out you go. Yes, thank you. I know everybody wants to see you, but yeah, come back later. We'll get you involved. Thank you, Wally. Yes, Wally, Wally, Wally. I see you on the Slido, all wanting more Wally. Thank you for that, Gillian. What a beautiful story you shared. The science of where water comes from, it just goes round and round. So we have got to care for it, right? So we're going to pause it here for a moment. We're going to invite you to have a conversation with your neighbour in your classroom for about 5 minutes. What came up for you as you listened to Gillian there? How does how we feel about water and our culture influence how we protect water? And how can this help us all fight pollution? How did Gillian's messages about the origin of water make you feel? So get in touch with us. What can people, communities and governments do together to stop water pollution perhaps? And how can we protect our water resources? So take about 5 minutes and then we'll come back and we'll share all of your insights. So we'll see you in 5. Great, so we would love to hear from you. What came up in your discussions there, in your conversations? Teachers, head over to Slido. Just to remind you, the code again is PPA 2024. So pupils, time to share your thoughts in your classrooms with your teachers so that the teachers can share it with us on Slido. And I can see some discussion points have come up already. We asked how Gillian's message made you feel. And we had a message saying one of our pupils found the video very calming. I think we can all agree, lovely Gillian has a super calming nature and her whole presentation was absolutely fantastic for putting us in a really calm space. You said things like water is very powerful. What can we do as communities, we asked you. You've suggested things like working towards the nationalisation of water companies, or perhaps using less chemicals, perhaps organic soaps for our showers, all these different things that we might be able to do. And if you do it by yourself, but then you team up with a whole load of other people and there's lots of you doing it, that's what really makes a difference. And plastic-free schools is a lot to do with that, challenging those rules and regulations, laws and regulations about water usage, yes, revisiting them, seeing what could be looked at to be changed. Turn off the taps, yeah, fantastic. Talking about profits, sewage in the rivers, that's a really big talking point that needs addressing. All sorts of things. Volunteer to clean up the oceans. Yes, that's something we can all take part in. Beach cleanups, get involved with picking up litter wherever you find it to stop it entering our waterways. So many ways. Oh, you've come up with some absolutely brilliant discussion points here. So keep them coming in and the Slido will be there and all your points will just be showing up so that everyone can read them. Now, we've got an amazing lineup coming up for you. We are about to meet a lawyer, an activist, a surfer and a zoologist who are all going to talk about their own relationship to water. But first we're going to have a little bit of a gear change. We're going to get back to our bodies. We're going to take 2 very deep breaths together, remembering that one of these breaths is powered by the ocean. So with me all together, ready? Take a deep breath in through your nose, inhale. And then breathe out completely through your mouth. Letting all the air go. And again, inhale deeply into your tummy. Feel your ribs expand. And exhale, feel free to make a sound. Ah. Let it all go. And breathe normally again. Great. And thank the ocean for that second breath. Now, this next segment is all about understanding our relationship with water and some of the dynamics affecting the health of that relationship. We're going to meet some folks who are working with water in different ways. Our relationship to water is essential and beautiful, but it is also in jeopardy. We all have a right to access water, and so we all have a responsibility for its care. Our first guest is Paul Powersland. He is a barrister and founder of Lawyers for Nature, which advocates for rights for nature. He's also a river guardian of the River Roding in London, where he lives on a boat, so he's not really your conventional lawyer. Welcome, Paul.
Hello, I'm Paul Powersland from Lawyers for Nature, and I'm here with the river I love, the River Roding in East London, to talk to you about why rivers need guardians and why all of you can step into that role of river guardianship. So I moved to this river 7 years ago, and although I'm a lawyer, I have had no ecological training and I wasn't even an environmental lawyer, but I wanted to settle down somewhere on my boat and also to maybe do a small project to pick a bit of rubbish out of the river and plant some trees. I really assumed when I moved here that somebody was looking after the river, a government official, local authority, a charity, someone was looking out for its interests and speaking for it. And I was actually really shocked to discover that that wasn't true, that there was nobody really looking after this river and fearlessly acting in its interests. And that led to great damage to the river. There was lots of rubbish, lots of water pollution, raw sewage going into the river, road runoff, chemicals, and really poor development that made the river a lifeless canal in places and cut it off from its floodplain and these amazing and beautiful reed beds that you can see behind me. So I decided that if no one was looking after the river, then I and other local people along the river should just start doing it. So without any official permission at all, I started finding myself speaking for the river and acting for it more and more. Sometimes with permission, but if I couldn't get that permission, I go and do it anyway. So I organised litter picks, and over the course of weekends in the winter, dozens of volunteers come out on the river and remove tons of rubbish, sometimes 400 bags in a weekend from this river, and it's already starting to have an improvement. I've started investigating, going in the undergrowth along the river and finding outlets that are letting raw sewage into the river and protesting against them. If there's a development along the river, I go and I speak for the river and say, if you want to put this new development here, what are you giving back to the river? And there are many, many examples like that where I've been able to just go speak for the river, represent it, and make sure that its voice is heard in all human decision making. And that is something that I believe all of you can do too. We all live in a river catchment. Even if you're not directly next to a river, every drop of rain that falls to earth falls into a river catchment. So I really urge all of you to find out, which river catchment are you in? Where's the local river to you? And begin spending time with it. Go and walk along it, and perhaps if it's not accessible, then campaign for that access to be opened. And when you start spending time with it, you'll begin to see what your river needs. Is there rubbish? Are there invasive species that need removing? Is the water quality poor, like many of our rivers are in the UK? And then that final crucial step, when you found out what your river needs, you need to be the one to give it the voice that it doesn't have in human affairs. So you need to step up, and if there's rubbish, maybe organise a group activity to go and remove that. If there's water pollution going into the river, protest and campaign against it. The key thing is that the river itself doesn't have a voice, and so you need to become that voice. And I ask you to do that not just because it's the best thing for our rivers, but also because it's an incredibly enjoyable thing to do. My work on the roading hasn't always been easy, but it's been some of the most beautiful parts of my life over the last few years. There's few things more lovely than getting to know a river, falling in love with it, and doing everything you can to speak for and protect it. I hope you have a lovely rest of the assembly.
Thank you so much, Paul. What an incredible activist, hey? Thank you so much for all of your moving words. A beautiful example of how we might deeply connect with a particular body of water and take responsibility for its care. Next up, we have Lira Valencia, a London native who works to shed light on the importance of nature connection in urban spaces. So she's an urban wetlands ranger, and she's here to speak with us about exploring wildlife and connecting with natural spaces in our cities. Welcome, Lira.
Hello everyone, my name is Lira and I'm a wildlife influencer and a ranger for the London Wildlife Trust, working at one of their reserves, the Walthamstow wetlands that you can see behind me. Now you're probably wondering, what does a ranger mean, and why would someone who lives in a city care about water when water feels so distant for a lot of people who live in a city? Well, my job role is a really good example of how and why water is really important in a city. So take the wetlands behind me. This is Walthamstow wetlands, like I just mentioned, and it is actually Europe's largest urban wetlands. So these reservoirs that you see behind me, there's 10 of them, and they provide 30% of Londoners with drinking water. So if you live in London, especially if you live near North London, most likely your cup of tea was made from the water that you see behind me. Or if you had a bath this morning, you're probably using water that came from these reservoirs, which is super, super cool. So these large stretches of water are not just important for people, obviously for drinking and washing, flushing the toilet, but also really good for wildlife. And you probably can hear and see lots of things going on behind me. Specifically, these large stretches of water are really, really important for birds. Now, maybe a lot of you don't do bird watching, but I can tell you birds are super cool, super important, and Walthamstow Wetlands is really, really famous globally for our birds. For example, a heron, which is a really big bird, almost the same height as me and definitely taller than a lot of people watching this. We at Walthamstow Wetlands have one of the largest heron populations in the UK, which is really, really fascinating. But Walthamstow Wetlands isn't just home to many species of birds, it's also home to lots of amphibians. We've got toads, we've got frogs, newts as well, which are super, super cool. And a lot of plants. You can see the trees behind me, we have reed beds. These wetlands provide home for a range of different species. But unfortunately, our wetlands are disappearing around the UK. And in fact, globally, wetlands are disappearing 3 times faster than our forests. It's been estimated by scientists that almost 90% of our wetlands have disappeared in the last 300 years. And why is this happening? This is happening because of us. We're draining wetlands to create room for us. We need roads, houses and other human structures, and unfortunately we're sacrificing our wetlands. On top of this, climate change has caused a lot of water bodies to dry up around the UK. This means that species that used to live and breed on these wetlands can no longer do so, and they're forced to move away. So what can we do? And what can you do? Step number 1, think. How do you connect with your local wetlands? Ask your guardians if there's a nearby pond, river, stream, or wetlands that you can go to visit. And be curious about the species there. See what you can find and how you can protect these species. Number 2, think how you can improve your local wetlands. For example, you might find there's a load of rubbish in your local pond. You might ask your friends and family if you can help do a day cleaning it. Maybe you want to be less hands-on and more creative. Go to your local pond, stream, river, wetlands, and get creative. Think how you can create art to inspire others and be inspired by the natural beauty around you. Step 3, and teachers listen up because this could be for you too. But how can your school take action for water? Maybe in class, you'll ask your teacher to use less plastic. Maybe you can ask your head teacher to build you a pond in your school playground. There are many ways to take action for our waters, even if you live in a city like me. Next time you take a shower, wash your hands, eat your favourite fruits and vegetables, just know that that is not possible without clean, healthy water. Anyways, my time is coming to an end, and I really hope you've been inspired somehow by my talk about urban wetlands and the way that urban children as well, so if you live in a city or if you live in London, how you can get involved in protecting waters. I hope you enjoy the rest of the assembly, and thank you so much Surfers Against Sewage for having me speak and for organising this amazing assembly. I wish I had this when I was younger growing up. You're all super lucky. So thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.
Thank you so much, Lira. That was absolutely brilliant. I do feel really inspired now to go and look for more wildlife in urban spaces. It really is incredible to think how much wildlife is out there, all life around us. We just have to open our eyes and look for it. Now, moving on to our third guest, the wonderful Easkey Britton. Easkey, whose name means fish in Irish, is a surfer. She's a writer, an artist, and marine social scientist, and she channels surfing into a force for positive change, and she's here to talk about her relationship with the ocean. Welcome, Easkey.
Hello everyone, I'm Easkey Britton. I'm a surfer, a writer and a marine social scientist, and I'm so delighted to be with you here all today to share a little bit about my ocean connection and also how we're all connected to the ocean wherever we are on this blue planet, and wanted to explore a little bit about the influence the ocean has on our health and well-being. As a lifelong surfer, that's my medium to best know and understand the ocean. The ocean has been part of my entire life as my confidant, my constant companion, my teacher, and even healer. So when I'm in the sea and held by water, that's when I feel I most belong. And the ocean teaches me to be fully present with what is. But perhaps I'll start at the beginning with my name. Easkey has its origins in ancient Gaelic or Irish for fish, Eask. So I was named by the sea. My parents, who were pioneering surfers as well, named me after a wave on the west coast of Ireland, where I grew up, and where an important salmon river flows into the sea. The salmon is known as Bradon Fasa, or the salmon of knowledge or wisdom. And my name reminds me that there was a time when we understood the wisdom of other species. It reminds me that my identity is tied to the identity of the salmon, the river, and the sea, that we've all been shaped and formed by the ocean. And for many, the sea remains an expanse of blue space, and what lies below the surface, most humans may never see or experience firsthand. For me, I had the good fortune of a childhood spent in close proximity to the coast, full of the wonder of tidal movements, power of the sea, and fast-moving weather fronts. At a very early age, I learned about the life of intertidal zones from time spent in rock pools, before following my mother and father into the surf. And in a way, how I surf honors these natural processes and cycles, the flows and rhythms of the sea that are beyond human control. The sea is our great mother, supporting all life on Earth, and most of the water in the ocean today was formed some 4 billion years ago. This ancient sea is also where first life on Earth began, and our bodies mirror this blue planet we live on, covered in 70% ocean, and our bodies are up to 70% salt water, reminding us of our watery evolution. The sea remains in the salt water of our blood, our cells, our DNA, from when the first animals came ashore and took up a land life some 1 billion years ago. In the words of environmentalist Rachel Carson, we are all linked with this origin in the ancient sea. Even today, our life begins swimming in our mother's watery womb. The water of the womb, called amniotic fluid, has a remarkable similarity to the density and salinity of sea water. We are all shaped and formed by ocean. And I look forward to catching up with you later in the assembly.
What a beautiful personal story there from Easkey, demonstrating such a profound connection with the sea. It's quite amazing, isn't it, to think that the salt water in our blood and in our bodies, and how that is such a key evolutionary link to the ocean. All right, we now have a final guest calling in from the fjords of Norway. Billy Heaney is a zoologist and wildlife tour guide, and he is a campaign champion for whale and dolphin conservation. He's here to speak with us about marine life, especially about whales and their importance in a healthy ocean ecosystem. Over to you, Billy.
Thanks, Naomi. Hi, everyone. My name is Billy, and I'm a zoologist and wildlife tour guide, and I work with big animals that live in water. And I'm currently freezing my pants off here in Arctic Norway, where I've spent the weekend searching for whales. Today, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about water, some awesome landscapes, and some really big mammals. Now, why do I love whales and dolphins? Well, they're highly intelligent, super sociable, and some species like orca, also known as killer whales, live in tight-knit family groups just like we do. And it's the mothers and the grandmothers that look after all of their family members. So, where am I? I'm currently in Tromsø in northern Norway, and everywhere I look, there's water. The chilly North Atlantic is right behind me, and there's snow on top of the mountains in the distance. But I've spent the past few days even further north from here in a magical place called Skjervøy. At this time of year, humpback whales and orca gather off the coast of Skjervøy to feed on herring. Now, the humpbacks are baleen whales, and they are huge, and they can grow to lengths of up to 17 meters. An adult humpback can eat as much as 1,360 kilos of food every day. That's like 20 of me. The orca, on the other hand, are a fair bit smaller, but they can still be about 8 to 9 meters long and weigh 6 tons. And the orca's black and white markings help break up their appearance, working like camouflage, making them harder to see in the water, enabling them to sneak up on tasty herring. But you don't need to go all the way to Arctic Norway to encounter whales and dolphins. we have some fantastic marine life right here in the UK. From friendly common dolphins, chunky bottlenose dolphins, hungry minke whales, and my favourites, just like here in Norway, orca. So, why is it important to protect whales and their ocean homes? Whales are the gardeners of the oceans, and they can actually help us in the fight against climate change. Whales play an important part in keeping our oceans healthy. As they're swimming through the water, they pump nutrients like nitrogen and iron down from deep waters all the way up to the surface. When they come up to the surface to breathe, as like us, whales are mammals and breathe air, they do gigantic poos. And these poos are also full of nutrients that tiny microscopic plants called phytoplankton need to survive. And they're so tiny that you'll need a microscope to see them. These tiny plants absorb carbon dioxide from the air, just like trees do on land, through a process called photosynthesis, which is how plants breathe. These tiny plants absorb nearly a third of all of the carbon dioxide us humans produced. In fact, the oceans absorb more carbon dioxide and produce more oxygen than all of the Earth's forests combined. How cool is that? By supporting these tiny plants that we call phytoplankton, whales help remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, which is one way of slowing down climate change. And by supporting phytoplankton, whales help fertilise the oceans, providing food for krill, fish, bigger fish, sharks, seabirds, and dolphins. Like us, whales need clean water to survive. And sadly, whales around the world are threatened by entanglement in fishing gear and from pollution caused by toxic chemicals. But you can help them. Next time you're on the beach with your mates or with your family, pick up and get rid of any fishing gear or plastic litter you see on the beach, and recycle your plastic food packaging. This will help stop whales and dolphins swimming in or eating plastic, and in turn help us. Right, I can't feel my toes, so I'm going to go find myself a cup of tea to warm up, and I'm going to hand back over to Naomi in the studio. I'll see you in a bit.
Thank you so much, Billy. You go and warm up. I definitely won't be forgetting that fact about whale poo anytime soon. Remember, water is part of a cycle, so you can pick up litter from anywhere and that will stop it entering our waterways. Wow, what an amazing lineup of guests we've had. So big thanks again to Paul, Lira, Easkey and Billy for sharing their fantastic stories with us. We're now going to invite you to have another conversation with your neighbour. This time we'd love for you to reflect on the 4 stories you've just heard and talk about what resonated the most for you. Which stories did you connect with the most and why? So take about 5 minutes and then we'll come back and share some insights. All right, now we would love to hear from you again. What came up in your conversations? What stories were most resonant for you and why? So teachers, head over to Slido, slido.com. Pupils, share your thoughts, and I can see some of your discussion topics are already popping up. The big one, education. Very, very important that, I agree completely. I can also see Wally is on the discussion points, which we also quite like. But encourage people to visit their local water. That was a really important one. You need to learn to love the water that you're near and live local to, so that if you love it, you will care about it, and then you will want to do everything you can to protect it. Because if we don't know about things, we don't care about them, and then we don't want to protect them. So really learning to love your local water space, that's a good one. Making litter picking group. Make a litter picking group locally. That's quite tricky to say, but that is a very, very good idea. Picking up litter wherever you can makes loads of difference. Creating viral videos. That's one you'll all be very good at, I'm sure. So create some viral videos to spread the word. What else? Start pressure groups. Yeah, that's getting really active, being a real ocean activist. What else? Feeling empowered. Yes, I think by doing things, by taking action and working together with your community, you can feel really empowered and know that you are making vital change. MPs, yeah, demanding change, isn't it? It's about talking to businesses and people in charge, people who have the power to make the changes. Clean water is a human right. Absolutely agree. What else? We're going to keep these messages just coming in, and we are going to take another little break. It really is wonderful to hear how you think these stories have impacted you in all different ways. So keep sharing those. We're going to take a 5-minute short break, and when we come back, we're going to meet some more guests to talk about what they're doing to protect water. We're going to have a panel discussion. So we need some questions for our discussion. If you have any questions in mind, do jot them down in Slido as well during the break, so that we can ask our guests during the panel discussion. And we've got a bit of a treat for you during this break as well. We are going to play you the fantastic song that all of our primary schools created during this morning's primary Pupil Power Assembly, thanks to the incredible skills of singer-songwriter Martha Tilston. You are going to love it, and I will see you in 5.
It's the leaves on the surface of the lake, it's the crashing waves. It's thanks to the ocean every second breath I take. Liquid minerals, ancient life-giving powers. Water is life, ooh, water is life. Water is life. We go round and round, we keep pouring down. Won't you keep us clear? We are the voice of the water. And we go round and round, we keep pouring down. Won't you keep us clear? We are the voice of the water. So let's go underwater now. It's so silent and calm. I love to swim faster and faster. Can we stop doing harm? I wish that I had the 7 seas in my garden. Water is life, ooh, water is life. It goes round and round, it keeps pouring down. Won't you keep us clear? We are the voice of the water. go round and round. We keep pouring down. Won't you keep us clear? We are the voice of the water. We go round and round. We keep pouring down. Won't you keep us clear? We are the voice of the water. Soaking in my bath, jumping in muddy puddles, skimboarding, surfing and dancing in the rain. I'm lying in the bath, jumping in muddy puddles, skimboarding, surfing and dancing in the rain. We go round and round, we keep pouring down. Won't you keep us clear? We are the voice of the water. We go round and round, we keep pouring down. Won't you keep us clear? We are the voice of the water. We're a trickle now, but one day we may be a rushing river, maybe a big ocean. Singing, we are the voice of the water. It's the leaves on the surface of the lake. It's the crashing waves. It's thanks to the ocean every second breath I take. Liquid minerals, ancient life-giving powers. Water is life. Ooh, water is life. Water is life. We go round and round.
So you can thank over 16,000 primary school pupils who joined us this morning for giving us the lyrics for that song and helping us to create that with Martha. I bet that will be stuck in your head for the rest of the day. It's absolutely wonderful, that song. So welcome back, everybody. We are heading into the final segment of today's programme, which is all about exploring how you can become a Blue Steward too. Now, our next guests are here to talk about Blue Stewardship and share some ways that you can get involved. And then we have got an epic panel discussion coming up featuring two young activists who will share their stories, and they're going to inspire you to stand up for water. But first, I'd like to introduce you to Giles Bristow from Surfers Against Sewage, Bristow from Surfers Against Sewage, and Amy Gosney from Waterhall, who are here to tell us a bit about their jobs and why they work to protect our water. Big welcome to Giles and Amy.
Hello, I'm Giles Bristow. I'm the Chief Executive of Surfers Against Sewage. We're a charity dedicated to the protection and conservation of the ocean. And I'm here with Amy.
Hi everyone, I'm Amy from Waterhall and I'm part of the Creative Projects team. At Waterhall we recycle ghost nets, which are fishing nets which have been lost or abandoned at sea, and we turn them into sustainable goods. So we make sunglasses and we make beach cleaning equipment because we thought, why not make something that does positive out of something that's causing harm?
Awesome. So we thought we'd have a chat about our careers and the things that we've been doing, and hopefully it might provide a little bit of advice or a bit of inspiration for you. So Amy, I think you have some questions.
I do. So what first inspired you to pursue a career focused on the environment, and was there a specific moment or experience that led you to work in this field?
Ooh, okay, so for me, no specific moment. There wasn't any one thing that I ever did. But I've always, my earliest memories, honestly, were thinking about the environment. I was born abroad, I was born in Africa. We always lived next to the water, so whether it be the ocean or big rivers. And my summers, my weekends were always spent just swimming, surfing, sailing. And I can think of nothing else other than, the fact that I loved these places and wanted to do something with them in my career. So no, not one specific thing, but I guess a family background and happy times of hanging out with people that I love in places that are amazing. How about you?
Yeah, so I grew up in Oxfordshire, so not surrounded by the ocean at
Right.
all. And the first time I went snorkeling, I was just absolutely mind blown about how amazing it was,
Yeah.
how beautiful it was. And I'd never really thought about marine biology as a career, as an option. And once I'd learnt about it, I really wanted to keep going and learn more about it. And you see all the pictures of beautiful beaches and how amazing they are, but actually the flip side of that, when you go somewhere that is covered in plastic, thinking,
Yeah.
hang on a sec, this is an amazing place, but what is this that, there's a lot of damage, so how can I do something about that?
Yeah.
And that just really inspired me to want to do something positive.
So did you study marine biology?
I did at a master's level, so I
Uh-huh.
did an undergraduate, I didn't really know about it,
Yeah.
and then I went back and studied it again because I was really passionate about it later on in life.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, right. So I did geography.
Oh,
So again,
yeah.
it's kind of trying to study and do the thing that you love.
Yeah.
I always loved geography, and part of that was about being able to study. That was about being outdoors, being in amazing places.
Yeah,
So
Brilliant.
yeah.
yeah, exciting. Okay, so what do you find most rewarding about your work?
What's most rewarding? Yeah. What is most? I tell you what I love about this job in particular is that it really mixes working with local communities. So we're all about people power to create change. So what I find amazing is being out there with communities, sand between our toes, standing with them on the beaches, reclaiming these places from the polluters, and working with them to take what they want and the energy that they have and take it to Parliament. So we say that is going from the beachfront to the front bench in Parliament, and bringing their voice to say to policymakers and others, this has got to change. So that's incredibly rewarding. Being able to see things actually change is amazing. So whether it's a place that you love, a beach getting cleaner, or the water quality getting better, that's the most rewarding thing. So many jobs, are infinite and nothing really happens as a result.
Yeah.
But I think if you're working in environmentalism and the tide's on your side, then things are getting better, and that is an amazing feeling. How about you?
I totally agree with that. I think actually giving the people the chance to go and do something
Yeah.
and actually make that change, rather than just sitting, hearing about it, not knowing what to do, but being able to go out and do something positive and physical, I think is what's really inspiring. And for me as well, my role is really creative. I have a lot of opportunity to go and do lots of different things, so I bring the arts into my role a lot, which I really love.
Yeah.
It's just a different avenue to get things done, and we use technology and creating a product, but that product creates positive change. You're doing some amazing work educating, galvanising communities, and the flip side, we're using lots of other ways to make that, and it's just brilliant.
Yeah, I think my advice for people thinking about career environmentalism is to start where you're passionate, where you've got energy,
Yeah.
things that you want to do, and then think about whether you want to work on the inside. So do you want to work for an organisation like Surface Against Sewage, or do you want to do something from the outside and be disruptive, do something different, change it around? Because at the end of the day, being an environmentalist is as much about being a job as it is being a person.
Yeah.
So you can do that in whatever you do, wherever you work, you can drive positive change. So that's what we try to push at Surface Against Sewage too. There's a ton of stuff you can do, whether it's a beach clean, whether it's joining us on a protest, whether it's encouraging your school or your university to become plastic free, working with businesses in your community like yourselves that are plastic free businesses. There's a ton we can do. And then just go with the flow, go with your energy, and be disruptive. I think that's my main message. These environmental issues are hard and difficult, and we've got to act quickly. So if you have a talent for anything, doesn't matter whether it feels environmental or not, you can bring it to environmentalism and do that.
Exactly. Do what you're passionate about, because your passion will spread to other people. I think if you really care about something, everyone you talk to will see that, and they will also care. So whatever that is, take it, run with it, and do something with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Good.
Oh, thank you so much, Giles and Amy. So great to hear about what following your passion can lead to. Up next, we're welcoming two young activists who will talk about the ways that we can care for water. They're going to share their own experience of activism and also speak about the importance of resilience in the process. Pim Sullivan-Taylor is a youth activist and environmental science student in London, and she is passionate about deepening youth connection with climate activism. And Ellie Meredith is a community cultivator and she believes in the power of connection to combat eco-anxiety. Now, joining me now is Andy Raingod. I'm going to invite Andy in to moderate this conversation. Hello, Andy.
Hi, Naomi.
Lovely to have you here this afternoon. Now, Andy is a facilitator, a speaker, a social entrepreneur, and he supports people to grow their capacity to create meaningful change in the world. And he's going to guide the conversation at the start, and we'll share your questions with Pim and Ellie for the Q&A session. So if you already have questions, do feel free to send them in via Slido. You can send them at any point during this conversation, and Andy, you'll select your favourites, won't you, to ask our guests.
Of course.
So I'm going to get out of the way and let's get the conversation started.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Naomi. And yeah, we're really excited to have Pim and Ellie here with us to share some of their experience of creating change in the world. So maybe we'll start with Pim. What does taking a stand for nature and water look like for you?
So I think that taking a stand for water really starts with the acknowledgement that water is literally the lifeblood of our natural and also human world. It's the thing that connects us both. So for me, one of my catalyzing moments in acknowledging nature is the way that actually the memory of it connects us to each other. So my mum from Thailand used to always tell me stories about this crystal clear river she always used to play in. But now, because of quarrying in the local area, that river is too polluted to go in. So I've lost that opportunity to connect with her childhood like that. That was one of my catalyzing moments. But my activism all really started about 4 years ago when I was 16, and I organized a student climate conference, which led me to where I am now, doing work in systems change, eco-anxiety, and international policy. Something that is really important in taking a stand for water is that it can be about going to a protest, but it can also be about engaging in conversation with people around you. It's about what's finding things that are relevant to you and your community.
Thank you, Pim. I think those catalysing moments seem so important, and it's amazing the work you've done over the last few years. Ellie, how about you? What does a stand for water look like for you?
Yeah, for me, taking a stand begins with joy. I love being out in nature. It's where I feel really rooted and free. And the work that we do at the Reaction Collective is all about inspiring others to do good stuff with cool people, and cultivating a community that shares love for repair, outdoor gear, repurposing, and reimagining what's possible. And I think that connection to nature is really deeply rooted for me. And growing up near the River Severn in Shropshire, I've seen how water is a source of life, but it can also bring so much loss. And that duality has always stuck with me and reminds me why protecting the natural world matters so much. And taking a stand for water and nature is actually just about cherishing those connections and recognising how deeply we depend on each other, like Pim said. And we are nature protecting itself. There are so many ways to show up. Make art, spend time noticing nature, or just do whatever makes you tick, and it all matters is the key thing.
Thank you, Ellen. It's so important to remember joy, doesn't it? It reminds me of what Paul said earlier, that when our change comes from that place of joy, sometimes it can be a slog, but we have to remember it's also our passion as well, and it's so great you brought that in and you bring that into your work. So, Pim, what have you learned from your activism work that would be relevant for young people, would you say?
So something that I used to tell myself all the time was that I had to be a perfect activist. But I wish someone told me that I don't have to be perfect. I used to think that I had to earn my place to talk about the environment or to be a steward for water. I would tell myself things like, I'm not experienced enough, I'm not confident enough, I'm not knowledgeable enough. But all this really does is feed into the narrative of perfect activists, which actually individualizes us, divides us, and brings us down. So as Clover Hogan says, we need 100 imperfect activists, not one perfect one. So something that I think really helped my imposter syndrome, I completely get you when I was your age, and this wasn't very long ago. I felt all these things, and something I told myself was that my experience of the environment is unique to me. And the love and passion that I have for nature and water is enough to be a steward.
That's really beautiful. It definitely chimes my experience too, that we can't wait till we're perfect. We never are. And if we just get on and do things, we really learn by the doing. Ellie, how about you?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things that I've learned along the way is that there is so much power in being part of something bigger than just me. I think it starts with finding your crew, and I'll never forget the moment where I first heard Greta speak, and it felt like a switch had flipped inside of me, and I realised that I didn't need to be an expert or the loudest voice in the room to make an impact. I think the simple act of standing up and saying I care is powerful in itself. And to you guys, I'd say this: you don't have to have all the answers. It's okay to start with just one question of what can I do, and just build from there. No one can solve everything, but you can channel your love and energy into meaningful action. And I've come to believe in a kind of like rebellious hope, and a kind of hope that doesn't sit still but fights for change even when it feels really impossible. And then pair that with stubborn optimism, the belief that progress is worth pursuing no matter how bleak things seem. And you'll find that the world is already shifting. Sometimes you just have to dig a little bit deeper beneath the surface to see it.
Oh yeah, thank you for that reminder, because rebellious hope seems so important, doesn't it? Because there's such a challenge with a lot of these environmental issues that we're facing. I'd love to ask, what keeps you resourced in your work? Maybe Pim, do you want to answer that one first?
Yeah, I can start with a moment that I had to struggle, and then how I came out with that and resources. I'm sure you guys have heard of burnout, and I mentioned I had this student climate conference that I organized. So in a month into planning that, when I was 16, I was doing it all on my own. And I was so burnt out that I ended having a complete breakdown in front of one of my teachers under just the pressure and weight of everything. And that was actually my first burnout. And actually what brought me out of it was bringing more people to work with me. That didn't mean that I was any less capable of being an advocate, but it meant it was more fun and mentally sustainable for me to do. So throughout that whole experience, I learned that you don't have to do it on your own. And even if you feel like you're the only person who cares, I promise you there are always people out there, like Ellie said earlier.
The support from others is so key, isn't it? How about you, Ellie?
Yeah, standing up for what you even can be a really beautiful but also a really exhausting thing. And for me, eco-anxiety has been my biggest teacher. It's taught me the importance of balance, actually. And there's a fine line between being overwhelmed by the enormity of the challenge and then finding strength in action. And I've learned to let myself feel deeply and not let those feelings paralyze me. It's about balancing emotion with action and concern with hope. As a neurodivergent human, I often experience the world in almost like a more intense, layered way. I don't just see problems, I feel them in my bones. But that same intensity is also my greatest strength. It drives me to seek solutions and find a way to contribute and muck in. And what keeps me going is knowledge that I'm not alone. There are others, like Pim said, that care as much as I do.
Wow, okay, so yeah, really tuning into our hearts and letting that passion really feed us and support us. Thank you, Ellie. So we're going to look to see what questions we've got, and we've got a guest. We're bringing back Wally. So Wally, can you pass us some questions from the audience? There they are.
Oh.
Right. Okay, thank you. You can go back to your puddle now. So some questions. What have we got here? If I want to protest, what would be the first steps to prepare? Can anyone be an activist? Do you want to answer one of those questions? Maybe Pim, would you like to go first?
I can answer the protest question. I guess it's kind of maybe a mix of both of those together. I think anyone who is an active citizen, if you care, you can be an activist, and you can show up in loads of different ways. And that's not necessarily always a protest. Personally, sometimes I find it quite overwhelming for myself. So I do different ways, but I still do go to protest sometimes. I would say that the best way to prepare for one is to go with friends, go with people who you trust, have a little group together, make it an activity. It's a day out. It's a chance to also go on a walk. Keep yourself safe. So A lot of the times, depending on how you feel, wearing a mask is really good. That's also, you know, just to protect yourself, but also protect people around you. If we're looking into kind of like disability justice and all of that, keep snacks. Snacks are really important. We've got to keep our energy up. Yeah, and go with people. Don't go on your own. It's more fun to go with people. So I would say that's the biggest thing. And then you can talk with each other how you prepare as well.
Thank you, Pim. Yeah, that's really helpful, practical advice. Ellie, we've got another question. What advice do you have for us to make a difference for water and nature?
I think the key is to start with connection. I don't think nature is something just to save, it's something to feel. Take your shoes off, ground yourself, walk on the grass, sit under a tree and breathe, watch the way that the light dances on the water. Those small, quiet acts can remind you why you care, actually, and why you're fighting for something bigger. Taking action doesn't always have to mean protests and placards. For a long time, I thought that I wasn't a proper activist because I didn't really go to protests and marches. Sometimes it's just planting flowers for pollinators or picking up litter on a walk or in the sea, considering this is a sea thing. It's all about finding your own rhythm, actually, and my way of connecting with the natural world around me really helps me kind of realise that change doesn't always have to be loud to count, and small everyday actions ripple outward, and people can kind of see that there is another way to be an activist. It doesn't have to be so binary.
Thank you, Ellie. Yeah, that really resonates with my work too. Bring people out into nature and how that is activism. That is so important. It doesn't have to be loud. Thank you. That's really helpful. Thanks to both of you. Really amazing insights. I hope that was helpful for all of you. And I'll now hand back to Naomi.
Coming back, and I'm just going to say, hello. I'm just going to say that everybody can be an activist, can't they? I think that was one of the questions, and I think you'd all agree, wouldn't you, Pim and Ellie, that anyone can be an activist? Yeah,
yes. Definitely.
And that's what this is all about today as well, isn't it? It's strength in numbers, our Pupil Power Assembly, because when we're united, we can make a bigger effect, can't we? So thank you, Andy. That was really interesting. Let's have a round of applause for our panellists. Thank you. Thanks so much. Such an inspiring discussion. It is great to hear from young people who are so involved in activism, and inspiring to hear how they are prioritising their well-being in the process. And becoming a Blue Steward is a great way to nurture your own well-being as well, because healthy waters keep us healthy too. And a really practical way to get involved is to make sure your school is signed up to Plastic-Free Schools, so you can help reduce single-use plastic pollution in our waters on a daily basis. We've got one final guest for you. Easkey is back with us once more to share a breathing exercise that helps her when she's competing in international surfing competitions. Now, this is a pro grounding exercise from a pro surfer. It's very cool. So get yourselves comfy. Easkey, over to you.
Hi everyone, I want to share with you a really simple breathing practice that I learned as part of my big wave surf training to help me stay grounded and connected in the present moment, and also a wonderful way to connect with the ocean wherever you are. So 50 to 85% of the oxygen in the Earth's atmosphere comes from the ocean, produced by marine plants called phytoplankton millions of years ago. And we are always connected through our breath to the ocean. The breath is our inner anchor and cycle that mirrors the cycles in nature, the ebb and flow of the tide, the wax and wane of the moon. Bringing my attention to my breath is one of the most direct and powerful ways I self-connect and ground myself in the present moment, especially if I'm about to face a big challenge or feeling any anxiety or fears, which I nearly always do when I'm getting in the ocean and encountering big waves. The breath is the greatest connector. It's ever present and a constant reminder of the cycles of ebb and flow that is life. Every second breath connects us to the sea, and the breath energizes and cleanses us, neutralizing toxins in the body. An awareness of our breath brings us back into our body, back to now. So I have a very short breathing exercise I want to share with you that you can do wherever you are. You can do it in the shower, when you wake up in the morning, before you go to sleep, if you're by water or the sea. And you just begin by simply bringing your attention to your breath and noticing how it feels in your body without trying to alter it. And on your inhalation, following the breath into the body like a wave. Beginning to notice the rhythm of your breath, your inner ebb and flow, rise and fall as you inhale and exhale. Now consciously beginning to slow your breath down a little and breathing into your belly through the nose. We do this naturally when we're babies, and it's 20% more energy efficient than breathing from our chest. And then feel a gentle pause between the in-breath and the out-breath. And as you breathe out, allowing the body to soften a little and let go. And it can help to focus your attention if you count on the in-breath for a count of 4. Breathing in, 2, 3, 4, feeling the pause. And exhaling for a count of 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathing in, 2, 3, 4, feeling the pause. And exhaling for a count of 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathing in, 2, 3, 4, feeling the pause. And exhaling for a count of 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And repeat, taking about 5 deep, gentle breaths in through your nose, into your belly, or until you feel just right. And if your attention wanders, gently bring your awareness back to your breath. Just a wonderful way to reset and connect with the ocean wherever you are.
Oh, how refreshing and relaxing was that? Breathing like the ocean just makes you feel more connected to water, doesn't it? Hope you felt that way too. It's a great reminder that taking care of ourselves is just as important as taking action in our communities. Connecting with water helps us stay calm in the face of challenges, and by connecting with water near us, we will develop a relationship with it that will inspire us to take more care of it. A beautiful, virtuous cycle. So let's take a moment to recap what we've done today. We started by looking at our own relationship to water with the help of lovely Gillian Burke, and started to understand the challenges that water is facing on our planet. Then we heard from 4 brilliant guests, Paul, Lira, Easkey and Billy, and each of them shared their own relationship with water and offered different stories for how you might connect with water yourself. Finally, we heard from Giles from Surfers Against Sewage and Amy from Waterhall, as well as Pim, Ellie and Andy about youth activism and how to get involved yourself. And we closed with that beautiful breathing exercise from Easkey again, reminding us that activism begins by taking care of yourself. It has been a jam-packed afternoon, but it doesn't end here. We've got a few activities for you to take home as well. We would love for you to visit the water near where you live. Start to form a relationship with it. Maybe there's a pond or a lake nearby, maybe a stream or a river. Maybe you're lucky enough to live by the sea. Have a look at the map, ask around, find your local water. Perhaps you could bring your family along. Take a photo of you visiting your local water and share it on social media using the hashtag #PowerToThePupils or WeAreWaterPPA. And don't forget to tag in Surfers Against Sewage channels to your posts as well. Thank you. And finally, we would love to see how you can inspire other people to become ocean activists too. Remember, activism is also a way to connect with others. So we are inviting you, if you're age 13 or above, to create a TikTok account, a campaign to encourage other young people to become Blue Stewards too. So share your campaign using the same hashtag, and we will share them all on our social channels as well. We're excited to see what you come up with there. See if you can go viral. But before you go, let's hear from Lira about an exciting new digital way to explore water.
Calling all my city people who love the ocean. I don't know about you, but even though I live in a city, I want to feel connected to the ocean. Urban communities are too often left behind in ocean conservation. We all have the right to access the ocean, whether we live 5 minutes away or 5 hours. The ocean plays a vital role in everyone's life. Without it, we'd be unable to breathe. It's responsible for 50% of our oxygen. So join me in exploring the Digital Ocean School platform with Surfers Against Sewage, where you can learn and connect with the ocean from your phone, laptop, or tablet. Dive deep into an exciting new scene that's just launched, the stunning seagrass meadows. You might recognise someone's voice guiding you through the platform. It's me. You can click around, watch videos, and learn some incredible facts. The ocean is for us all to enjoy, to explore, and to protect. Start your journey today and help us create ocean activists everywhere.
Thank you so much, Lira. The new underwater scene looks incredible. Hey, and listen up, teachers. I have been told that the first few teachers to share evidence with the Surfers Against Sewage team of their class engaging with Digital Ocean School will receive a fantastic hydro flask, just like this one. So don't miss out. You will receive all the post-event details in an email today. Right then, so I think that's just about it for today, isn't it? We have got to say a big thank you to everybody who has taken part in today's programme. Thank you so much to all of our guests, and don't forget, we are just saying thank you to everybody, I think. Thank you so much, Annie. You've done an absolutely superb job. We better welcome back Wally to say a very big goodbye. Oh, he's even waving. Thank you, Wally. Thank you. We hope you have a lovely weekend. And thank you, of course, to all of you for watching, for tuning in. We hope you will sign up to Surfers Against Sewage for our next year's Pupil Power Assembly. But thank you for signing up. We'll let you go and enjoy your weekend, and we will see you very, very soon. Take care. Bye.